Thank you for joining us on CBA News in Brief. My name is Wangui Ngugi. The party leader of Somaliland's Wadani party has accused President Musa Bihi of violations of the political agreement on the Electoral Commission that was brokered by the international community in July this year. The chairman of the party, Abdillahi, in a press conference at his residence in Hargeisa, said his party will withhold the nominations until the government rectifies the violations of the nomination process and the agreement of the political parties brokered by the European Union. Wadani alleges the members nominated by the president to the independent electoral body include people affiliated with political parties. The party also objects the renomination of Kaltun Sheikh, a member of the current Electoral Commission. Wadani party leader Abdirahman Inro accused President Musa Bihi of violations and gross misconduct of the political parties agreement. Mr. Inro said President Musa Bihi's integrity is questionable because he does not keep his words when the stakeholders come to an agreement. The three national parties in Somaliland recently signed a historic deal in which they settled election disputes and arrived at an agreement which is to see the new election of commission members. However, Wadani party Abdirahman Inro said his party will not take part in parliamentary and local elections if the proposed members of the Electoral Commission are to stay. The members of the House of Representatives, which is the main lawmaking body of the country, were elected in the year 2005 for one term of 5 years. Contrary to the Constitution and the will of the people, they are now serving that consecutive terms. President Bihi selected 3 individuals to be included in the 7 members of the Electoral Commission, but the opposition are contesting the selections. Somaliland government has played down the threat of locusts on the agricultural yield this year. The Minister of Agriculture, Ahmed Mumin Said, said the locust invasion does not pose a threat to the agricultural output of the country this year. Speaking to CBA, the minister addressed the issue of the locust infestation spotted at some parts of the country, stating that the locusts are very mobile this year and it is unlikely that they will affect the crops. He added that they are looking forward to using natural remedies for the infestation that does not harm people and animals. In this regard, negotiations are ongoing with agencies in Nairobi. On the other hand, he said the ministry ceased using pesticides to combat the grasshoppers because of its environmental harms. In the past, they used aircrafts to spray pesticides to kill the locusts, but they ceased, having found that the chemicals were harmful to people and animals. The locusts were first spotted in Audal region in Harirad district, and recently its swarms were reported near Buulo in Togdel region. Minister Said urged the farmers to take advantage of the exceptional rainfall this year to increase production. He added that the ministry for the last 2 years was very busy with agricultural extension to raise the capacity of farmers. The president of Somaliland's Jubaland state, Ahmed Madobe, has reappointed Mahmoud Said Aden and Abdulkadir Haji Mohammed as his first and second deputies, respectively. The two are now expected to help him streamline government operations. The appointments are expected to pave way for the formation of a new Council of Ministers. Madobe was re-elected this August in a controversial poll that saw the federal government dismiss it. During Madobe's inauguration earlier this month, speakers at the ceremony urged the Jubaland leader to create an inclusive government to ensure even his critics find space in the new administration. Some of Madobe's opponents have since crossed to his side. The federal government has maintained that it will not recognize Madobe's election and has even gone ahead to announce plans for a new election. Madobe has, however, affirmed his recognition of the federal government and called on the president, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, to open up for talks in order to end the stalemate, noting that the current stalemate between Kismayo and Mogadishu was adversely hurting the people of Jubaland and Madobe said it was time to set aside differences for the common good of Somalis. Canadian Global News is declaring that Liberal candidate and incumbent Member of Parliament Ahmed Hussein has been re-elected in the Ontario riding of York South Weston. Current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party has retained enough seats to head the government of Canada with a strong minority in the House of Commons. The Somali-Canadian Member of Parliament Ahmed Hussein has served as Canada's Immigration Minister since January 2017, when former Liberal Member of Parliament John McCallum stepped down from the role to take on the position of Ambassador to China. In his position as Immigration Minister, Hussein was often the spokesperson for the government of Liberal leader Justin in its fight against anti-immigrant rhetoric and concerns about refugees, especially those who have entered Canada through unofficial border crossings in Quebec and Manitoba since the spring of 2017. In April, Hussein and the Liberals were criticized by refugee advocates for hiding reforms to Canada's immigration system in a massive collection of budget. The changes expanded ineligibility rules for asylum seekers entering Canada at unofficial border crossings, making it impossible for people to make claims if they had tried to gain asylum in another country such as the United States, Australia, New Zealand, or the United Kingdom. Hussein was also responsible for major reforms to the Temporary Foreign Workers Program, including offering open work permits for migrant workers who face abuse from their employers. Tens of thousands of Sudanese demonstrated in Khartoum and other parts of the country to call for an independent investigation into the massacre on June 3, 2019, when dozens of people were killed as military forces cleared pro-democracy protesters away from the Defense Ministry in Khartoum. The protesters called on the Sudanese Professionals Association to hold accountable those responsible for a deadly raid on a sit-in near the Defense Ministry on June 3rd. Late on Sunday, after the SPA called for the rally, Prime Minister Abdillahi Hamdok named a commission to investigate the raid in which security forces killed dozens. The number of victims has been disputed. Doctors linked to the opposition said nearly 130 were killed in the raid and ensuing violence. Officials have acknowledged 87 deaths so far. The SPA welcomed the appointment of the commission, calling it the first brick in the structure of a fair investigation and the revelation of the perpetrators of the crime. Protesters demanded a swift response in its investigation of the raid on the sit-in, which was a culmination of 16 weeks of protests that led to army officers turning against Bashir and replacing him with a military council. In August, civilian and protest groups, including the SPA and the military, signed a 3-year power-sharing deal, leading to the formation of a sovereign council and the appointment of a technocratic transitional government under Hamdok. The investigative commission will be charged with identifying those responsible for breaking up the sit-in, establishing the number of dead, wounded and missing, and the financial losses incurred by those affected. That's the end of CBA News in Brief. Join Abdillahi Hassan later tonight with detailed news.